The circuit of Spa-Francorchamps is one of the most picturesque racetracks in the world. As I say, qualifying is getting underway right now. So then we've got Hugo Louise out on the racetrack. We'll check in with him in just one moment's time. There you see him up on your screen. As you'll also see qualifying times on this iRacing screen, there are your top 15. No one has yet set themselves a qualifying time, but Hugo Louise is going to be wanting to get himself a good lap. He has had some very difficult qualifying sessions of late. We also need to talk to you about, you'll notice the fact there is no free ID on these cars here today, as we ride along board with Hugo Louise as he starts a lap. Now, about 36 hours after the last round of the championship, Free ID Motorsports disbanded. We have most of the drivers from that team running under the banner. We're going to call them Ferrari Motorsports for the purposes of this. As you see, first couple of drivers coming past start-finish line. Yuhu Abe, Alexei Yakola have just scored a time. Yakola just going to the top of the timesheets for the time being, as Hugo Louise brings his car down into Lacombe. But Free ID Motorsports and no more. They're recognised for this race as Ferrari Motorsports, as Hugo Louise now comes down into Rivage, long 180-degree right-hand corner. That will lead him into a left-hand flick. You can see completely different paint schemes on these cars as well. Just Ferrari branding on those cars, as now Louise will make himself down in towards Tour for the first time. One driver who's just set himself a lap, Ben Cornett. There you see, welcome back to the series. Ben Cornett hasn't been racing at all much this season. We've also got a couple of other people on the racetrack. There you see Martin Kroenke coming out of pit road right now. There you see him bringing his car out onto the racetrack, but we will turn our attention to your provisional pole sitter previously. Not provisional pole right now, he's down in the 4th position. There it is, Alexei Yakola will ride along board with him in just one moment's time as he brings his car now down into Lacombe. He was the first person to set a fast time, but now he scored 2 tenths of a second behind Oli Bacala. And let's not forget the first round of the championship. Bacala, absolutely phenomenal. Yakola, good as well. When the last time they raced here at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, as we're having a look now on board with Alexei Yakola in that Glacier racing car. And this very fast, long ride down into who will ride on board with Yakola. Just a little crack of the throttle through pool part 1. Now into part 2, running himself down to the Fangin chicane. You want to brake as late as humanly possible down into this corner. And Yakola now falling down into 5th position. To give you an update on Louise, he did actually set a time that last time. He is back out, we believe, on the racetrack. You'll see him just one moment's time. He has provisionally scored 15th place in qualifying. But we will turn our attention back to Yakola. Here he is, working himself through a Blanchimont right now. Just a couple of corners left to go to ride back on board with him. And it looks as though that Yakola's actually slowed that car down, so something might have just happened to him. You see, he's going to bring it down very slowly down into the bus stop. Then, as soon as he comes through bus stop part 2, he will slam on that gas pedal right about now, get himself the best exit he can, and he'll try and do himself another lap around this racetrack. So Bacala is scored in pole position. He hasn't gone back out for any more laps. Just one lap in the book for Oli Bacala. Martin Kroenke, there you see him. We shall ride along board with him as he comes down into Redilliot, now down the Kemmel straightaway, running himself down in towards Lacombe. Currently scored provisionally P2 in the championship. And let's not forget, he took that 2nd place away from Hugo Louise at the last round of the championship at Okayama after another difficult run for Hugo Louise. Martin Kroenke now 2nd in the championship, provisionally 2nd place here on the grid as he is working himself on his 2nd lap out of 3. Where is your 3-time world champion? Well, the answer to that one is he is just come onto the racetrack. There you see him, Gregor Hutu, the 3-time champion, your championship leader in that number 1 Team Redline car, working himself now down in towards Lacombe. And this is actually a lap for him now, we are getting word. So he's actually working himself on a lap on the racetrack. Let's ride along board with him for just one moment. So working himself down into Pouin is Gregor Hutu in that number 1 Team Redline car. Just a little crack on the throttle as we saw from Yakola a little bit early on. Gregor Hutu currently is classified in 22nd place. That's because he hasn't yet set a time in this qualifying session in that number 1 Free ID car. Out front, it is still Picard leading the way. That is Kroenke in second. Kroenke does another lap. Doesn't go any further up on the grid, however. Does close that time down to Picard. Just keeping an eye out to see whether or not Kroenke has time to do another lap. No, he doesn't. Picard is back out on the racetrack as we'll keep our eye just for one moment's time on Gregor Hutu riding along board with him as he comes down into that bus stop chicane. What will this be for Gregor Hutu? Of course, first round of the championship here at Spa. He won the race, a great battle he had with Hugo Louise the last 10 laps of that event, but he'll come out of the bus stop chicane, work himself down towards La Source. And for Gregor Hutu, what's it going to be? Well, the answer is that wasn't a time lapse, and now just one big opportunity potentially for Gregor Hutu in that Team Redline car. But we got this guy, the Glacier Racing Glacier TV driver of Ollie Picard, working himself now out of Pouin down towards that funny chicane underneath the Alliance Bridge, and here he comes, originally on pole position by 5/100ths of a second. 4 minutes 30 left on the play clock. Ollie Picard continues to lead the way. Enzo Benito, by the way, he is just coming out of the bus stop chicane, currently classified in the 5th position. Will he be able to improve his time? The answer is 3rd place for Enzo Benito. Ray Garfido, always good at this racetrack. He's had some great runs in both the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series and the Pro Series of Road Racing. Just warming himself up for a lap in that Team Radicals number 10 car. Ilka Hapala just completing a lap. He will go 12th place overall, but here is Ollie Picard. He is going to bring himself down towards La Source to do another lap. Here is going to be a second lap for him, but we have got to, of course, keep an eye out on this guy, Gregor Hutu. Classified in P27 right now, just working himself through Stavolo 1, now down into Stavolo 2, running on board with your 3-time champion. Through Blanchimont, Hutu comes then. Let's see, he will have the opportunity to get one more lap done. So, this lap will have to be a good exit regardless out of the bus stop. He might compromise his final corner just in case he doesn't get pole position this time by coming out of that final corner past our finish line. P5 for Gregor Hutu, and that is all he is going to have. Paul Ilbrink in the number 29 Radicals car, running himself in P18 right now, setting himself up for another lap. Got a couple of other people on the racetrack. Fulvio Barazzini right now in that Triple M car, working himself out of the bus stop chicane, and it looks like he is setting himself up for a lap. Currently classified in the P24 position. Does he improve? The answer to that question is going to be no. He's starting a lap right now down into La Source. He will come. Let's ride along board with Barazzini through the Air Rouge Radillion complex. Absolutely flat out there for Fulvio Barazzini as he works himself there out of that corner. Ollie Picard, by the way, here he is. He's coming down into the bus stop chicane. Will he be able to give even more of a gap, give himself a bit more of a cushion? You see right now the gap between himself and Martin Kroenke is 5/100ths of a second. Come past the start-finish line, it's going to be about that. He was about 3/100ths of a second faster that last time by. Couple of people left on the racetrack. There is one of them, Marty Piatella, working himself now out of La Source down towards Air Rouge, right along board with him. So Piatella right now classified in the 12th place overall as he works himself down in towards Lacombe. There you see having a look high above as he comes down into Lacombe complex of corners. Classified P12 as we say. So he's just working himself now down towards Rivage one more time. You have still got Paul Ilbrink classified on the racetrack. Dion Verges as well. Just to let you know, Hugo Louise was able to improve his qualifying time up into P5. Gregor Hutu down into the P6 position. You got Paul Ilbrink still circling on the racetrack in that number 29 car, working himself now down through the Fungi chicane. He's relied on board with him. Out of Fungia, underneath the Vodafone bridge, he will come. Looks as though he's not actually going to get a lap in here. It doesn't look as though he's really pushing that car Out of stubble he will come. I don't think this is actually going to be a time lap though for Paul Ilbrink. So then, the main people we need to keep our eye on is this guy, Paul Ilbrink, currently classified in P19 in that Team Radicals car. You've got Martin Piatella on the racetrack, but 35 seconds left on the play clock. They have to get back to the start-finish line on time. There you see Paul Ilbrink. He will make it back by the look of it. He brings that car onto pit road. Martin Piatella coming down into that bus stop chicane. He will just about make it back to the start-finish line in time. 20 seconds left on the play clock for Martin Piatella. Will he improve? Yes, he does. He moves up to P8 there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much is it. You have Paul Ilbrink just on pit road right now. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is qualifying as the time clock expires now. So then, ladies and gentlemen, let's run through what will be your final grid here from Circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. So then, Ali Pacala in the number 27 Glacier Racing car. Qualifying time, 1 minute 45.494. Taking pole position by 55 one-thousandths of a second from Ferrari Motorsports' Martin Cronke. Ender Benito and Andre Borcha will line up on the second row of the grid. But Ali Pacala, after a standout performance in the first round of the championship, brings Glacier Racing back into contention and is now the biggest hope for potentially breaking what is a 7-win streak for Gregor Hutto. Of course, Martin Cronke, yet another front row position for him in this championship. Moving down to your third row of the grid, and there you see, it's Champions Row. Hugo Louise on the inside of that third row, and Gregor Hutto on the outside. Worst qualifying performance by Gregor Hutto for quite some time. It's an all-finish fourth row of the grid of Alexei Usiakola and Marty Piatella. Notice your top 7 drivers separated by just 2/10ths of a second on the grid. Then we'll go back. Michel de Jong, of course, he had a great race last time out at Okayama in that Orion Racing Team car. He is classified in the 9th place, and then Mogar Filo rounds out your top 10. Then heading down into the 6th row of the grid, Yuhu Abe in 11th, Isaac Price in the 12th position. Heading a little bit further back, Robin Friscops in 13th, Ilka Hapala in the 14th position, with Rocco Baroni and Alex Simpson in the 8th row of the grid. Jorn Jens and Jonas Nakurian, good qualifying today by Jonas Nakurian. He moves himself into 18th, Paul Ilbrink in 19th, and then Alexi Aloma rounds out your top 20. Christian Lorente and Dion Vergers in P21 and 22. Marcus Caton in P23 and Mikel Mancusi in P24. Then it's Fulvio Barazini in the 25th position. Fabio De Carmo in that Four Brothers Motorsports car in P26. New driver to the series. Welcome, Christian Tanahote, getting himself his pro license, qualifying in the 27th position in that Arc Friction Racing car. And Lee Thompson in the 28th place for Apex Racing UK. Then a very big welcome back to the series there for Ben Cornett, P29, and then rounding out your field, TNT Racing's Benjamin Lindsay. 30 cars have qualified here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and they will be getting set to go racing in a little under half an hour's time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for just one moment, and we'll be back with some highlights of qualifying here on RaceBot TV. Don't go anywhere, stick with us.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to continuing coverage of this, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Qualifying is in the books, and it is Ollie Picala who has got himself into pole position here at the fabled circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Now, Ollie Picala, it's not the first time he's been towards the front of the grid, and of course, for those of you who checked out the coverage on PSR TV of the first round of the championship, you will know that Ollie Picala is incredibly good around this racetrack. So what we're going to do before we get ready to get prepared for race time, we are going to spend a little bit of time on board with the guy who is classified on pole position. It's this guy. It's Ollie Picala. Let's ride along board with him. So then, this is the important part. You've got to get yourself set up for a good lap here. I see Ollie Picala running a little bit wide, getting himself, though, onto the power early. Then he gets himself a short run down into La Source. You start your lap here. Then, short run down into La Source. Slowest corner on the racetrack. It's about 35 miles an hour on the apex. Be careful. Don't use that curb too much on the outside. Then you come down the hill as you then head yourself down towards the famous Eau Rouge Rodillo complex. Flat out through here. See, that throttle is all the way down. Then it's a very long run, one of the longest straightaways that you have in this series, as you work yourself now down into the Lacombe complex. It's a right-hander, then into a left, then into a right. Using that curb a little bit on the entry, then again on the exit of the corner. Little left-hand flick, get yourself set up for that right-hander. Now you come down the hill, slightly down into Rivage, a long 180-degree corner. You can brake a lot later than you think you can. Get on the gas as early as possible, get that car straightened up. Quick left-hand flick, and now you're down into Pouin. Come underneath the Vodafone bridge, you see just the slightest crack of the throttle for Pouin Part 1, then flat out all the way through Part 2 as you now work yourself down into the Fung chicane, right and then left. Use that curb on the inside, that car settle down, then really floor it out of the corner, then just Stavelo to go. This is the second to last big braking zone on the racetrack. Bit of a wiggle there for Picala, holds onto it through Stavelo 2, then you're flat out now all the way down to the bus stop chicane. Blanchemont, of course, used to be so difficult in these cars. It's no longer, listen, flat out over 180 miles an hour. Clear the Bridgestone point, count down your markers. 3, 2, 1, break down into that bus stop chicane. Use a lot of that curve, but don't hit that outer sausage curve. Set that car up nicely. Little bit of Otis on the exit of corner, but that is a lap from Ollie Picard here, and that is what got him pole position. Also, keep an eye out. We talked a little bit earlier on about Hugo Louise. Of course, now you'll notice there's no free ID in that team name. It is now just simply Ferrasa Motorsports. So that will apply to all those drivers who were part of that free ID stable. Unfortunately, we saw a message from Jack Bansford, the previous team principal of that essentially the free ID days are over. It does seem as though it is amicable with all those drivers. Of course, you have people like Andre Borcher involved in that team. Also, Martin Kroenke, the guy that you see up on your screen right now. In fact, we are going to ride along board with Martin Kroenke, who came second place overall in qualifying. But Ferrari Motorsports is no more. Jack Bansford has let the team go into a new direction, and we'll be very intrigued to see what the future plans are for the rest of 2014 and of course into 2015 as well. Number of rumours circulating around the paddock as to what will happen with that team, whether all of these drivers will actually stay in the team as well. We have heard some mutterings that potentially this could be Hugo Louise's last season in the championship, and of course the driver who won the championship in 2011 for Free ID Motorsports, potentially now hanging up his helmets. We'll have to keep an eye out on that one. As I say, we have now got ourselves about 5 minutes to go as we're showing you highlights here of qualifying before we get ourselves ready for the race here on Racesport TV. And don't forget, all 44 laps of the race will be here live on Racesport TV. We talked about a couple of drivers who are new to the series. Christian Tanahote, there you see him up on your screen. He's a new driver to the series, so let's ride along board with him. So for those of you who check out our Friday night coverage of the IndyCar Road Course Championship here on Racesport TV, will be well aware of Christian Tanahote winning the second round of the championship there in the ARC Friction Racing cars. He now heads himself down towards Lacoum. 27th place in qualifying, his first appearance in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, also looking to run in the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing a little bit later on this year as well, after the conclusion of the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. But very welcome to the series there for Christian Tanahote. We've also had a couple of drivers back into the series. This guy, for example, Ben Cornett, in that number 23 Team Redline car, making a return to that series. He's not raced really at all season, but Ben Cornett, as you see, his car, he worked himself down to Prix. Disappointing qualifying, of course. He had to get back to used to grips with this car, and Ben Cornett, do expect him to do some interesting things in this race. A top 15 at least shouldn't be out of the question for the Australian-New Zealand driver, one of the most famous drivers in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Ben Cornett, welcome back to the series to you. For Gregor Hutu today, it wasn't the best qualifying he has ever had. You can see he only got himself P6 overall in that number 1 Team Redline car, as we're having a look from the rear of his car right now. P6, of course, that is equal with some of his worst qualifying in the last 2 years. Of course, he had that at Montreal, last round of the championship last year. He's had it once this season as well. So for Gregor Hutu, a little bit of work to do, but we do know how good he is at storming through the field, and that has been his speciality over the last couple of races. Really focus on race pace, and race pace is something that's going to be very interesting here today. See when those guys are going to do a one-stopper or a two-stopper. Of course, we had a three-stop strategy for the most part at Okayama. We do expect more even one and two-stop strategy here today. Historically, drivers have one-stopped here. Potential for them to try and do two stops. We talked about your world champion. We talked about, of course, your other world champion. There you see, once again, Hugo Louise out-qualifying Gregor Hutu. That will be a welcome break for him. He's had a tough season, has Hugo Louise, as we're having a look from the rear of that car, working himself down. You can just see the gradient drop here as well, as you work yourself down into Air Rouge. And now you'll notice you actually work yourself through Air Rouge, just how much the track gained in such a short period of time. That is the absolute beauty of this racetrack. But Hugo Louise out qualifying for the first time in a long while, Gregor Hutu. He will be finally looking forward to a race here in the series. So, ladies and gentlemen, to run through then your qualifying results one more time before we quickly head off, here are your top 10. And it will be Ollie Picardi starting this race here today on pole position. Martin Cronke will line up alongside him in that front row of the grid. Enzo Benito, Andre Borcha in P3 and 4 respectively. So it's Glacier Racing from Ferrari Motorsport, Team Redline and Ferrari Motorsport. They are your top 2 rows on the grid. Hugo Louise in P5. Gregor Hutu in P6, Alexei Usiakola, Marty Piatella on the 4th row of the grid, Mitchell de Jong and Mogar Filo round out your top 10. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very quickly going to flick through the rest of your qualifying field one more time, then we're going to step aside, head off to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with you for coverage of the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, exclusively live on iRacing Live and on RaceBot TV. Stick with us, we'll be back in just one moment's time.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the front. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. The race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to
Oh,
go. As you love it,
here we go.
you love it. The 0-1 gets around, the 5 gets around. Big choke.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight. and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series in 2014 saw drivers head to circuit Spa-Francorchamps, and what a battle we had in that first round of the championship. It came down to the last couple of laps between two titans of the series, three-time champion Gregor Hutu and one-time champion Hugo Luis. It came down to the final lap. Gregor Hutu was able to score the first of what is now 8 victories in this season's campaign. There's one driver in that race, however, who really did stand out. That was Olli Picala. And on the second trip to Spa this season, he starts this race on pole position. And he's got one of the drivers looking to try and do the impossible, starting alongside him in that front row of the grid. That guy is Martin Cronchet for Ferrari Motorsports. 3ID disbanded after the last race at Okayama. However, Martin Cronchet was able to actually get ahead of his teammate Hugo Luis in that Ferrari Motorsports car, and he now leads that charge to try and close down Gregor Hutu, the three-time champion, looking oh so close to becoming a full-time iRacing.com World Champion. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpot TV. We'd like to welcome all the viewers here today on iRacing Live, joining us for our coverage of this event. We'll be with you all 44 laps of this event around this absolutely beautiful racetrack. Well, the corner names roll off the tongue. Places like the La Source hairpin, the Air Rouge Radio Complex, all the corners, Lacombe, Pouin, Fagnes, Blanchimont, Stavelot, and of course the bus stop to complete the lap as well. 44 laps, and don't forget, the first round of the championship had some great racing. This round, the 12th round of the championship, likely to have exactly the same, and who knows who could be champion of this event here today. Will Gregor Hutu make it 8 wins in a row, or will someone, potentially Picala, potentially Cronchet, finally snap that winless streak? Let's go and have a look then at your grid as it stands right now. Don't forget, before we do that, you can follow me on Twitter. My name's Will Vincent, commentating for you here today on RaceSpot TV. Follow me at Will Vincent. You can also check us out, facebook.com/RaceSpot TV as well. So then, to run through your starting grid, it is going to be Olli Picala on pole position here today. Qualifying time, 1 minute 45.494. Martin Cronchet will line up alongside him in that front row of the grid, and then Enzo Benito and Andre Borcha lining up in P3 and 4 respectively. Then you've got yourself on the next row of the grid Hugo Luis and Gregor Hutu. It's Championship Pro on that third row. The only two drivers in WCS history to score a championship lining up alongside each other. And for the first time in a long time, Luis ahead of Hutu. Alexei Usiakola and Marty Biatella makes it an all-Finland fourth row of the grid. Then we've got Mitchell de Jong. Of course, he had a great race last time out. And Mo Garfilo, who's always good at this track, on row number 5. Yuhu Abe, we've seen some flashes of brilliance from him recently. He's starting in 11th place with Isaac Price alongside him in that 6th row of the grid. And then we've got Robin Friscops and Ilka Hapala in row number 7. Rocco Baroni and Alex Simpson line up in the mid-pack in the 8th row of the grid. Then we've got Jorn Jens and Jonas Nakuria in row number 9. Paul Ilbrink and Alexi Eloma will be starting on the 10th row of the grid. Then we've got ourselves Christian Lorente, Dion Verges in row number 11. Marcus Catan and Mikhail Mancusi in the 12th row of the grid. Fulvio Barazzini and Fabio Di Carmo in row number 13. Lee Thompson, Ben Cornett in row number 14. Welcome back, Ben Cornett, to the series. Then we've got Benjamin Lindsay, Jake Sturgios, Paulo Mulia, Ryusuke Arisaki. They round out your grid here today for this event. And all of these drivers looking for a great event as we bring you coverage here. Checker flag is out. These guys are just about to head themselves down to the starting grid here in just 1 moment's time as we get set for 44 laps worth of racing. So then, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, don't forget, you can check me out on Twitter, at Will Vincent, also facebook.com/RaceBotTV, as, of course, we're bringing you coverage of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, also, of course, Friday Night IndyCar, so much more, including coming soon, the 24 Hours of Spa, here on RaceBot TV. The field are beginning to line themselves up on the starting grid as we look high above here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. These guys are getting set to go racing, as we say, for 44 laps. There is the guy starting this race from pole position. It is going to be Ollie Picala in that number 27 Glacier Racing car as the cars continue to line up on the grid around him. And there you see the cars just waiting out for Martin Kroenke. There you see Martin Kroenke, those lights. Any moment now will go on top of the gantry, getting set to go racing for 44 laps. The 12th round of the championship here on iRacing Live will start right now. Down in towards turn 1, they come for the first time. Enzo Benito, he's going to try and make it free wide down in turn 1. No, he won't. Ollie Picala with the early jump, he will get ahead, but a little bit loose. We've got contact behind. And that's Marty Piatella, you see, already out of the race. An early bar for him there in that Ferrari Motorsports car. But meanwhile, you see all these guys coming down towards Lecumbe for the first time. Mighty close racing as we're riding along board right now with Enzo Benito. You see, he's right on the rear, and you see Martin Kroenke looking to go around the outside there of Ollie Picala. Doesn't look as though he's going to get that job done, however, as they work themselves through Lecumbe for the first time. Ollie Picala holds on to the race lead for the time being. There you see a little bit further back, his teammate, Alexei Usiakola, trying to go down the inside and completing the pass actually there on Gregor Hutu. Now, we do know that historically, Hutu is a little bit slow at the start of this race, but Ollie Picala moving himself up into 6th position on the racetrack. Gregor Hutu down into 7th place for the time being. So, out front it is Ollie Picala who leads the way. However, we have got ourselves a couple of drivers struggling so far early on in this event. One of them is Martin Piatella, who will be classified as out of the race. As you can see, the cars working themselves out of Stavolo for the first time. Down in the mid-pack, lots of dicing going on, but it does look as though that all of these guys are going to get through okay. Jonas Nakurian, by the way, I'm into P14 on this opening lap. What an opening lap he has had. We're riding along board with him right now in that Radicals car, looking as though he's going to try and make a move on Rocco Baroni as well as they come down into the bus stop. Not quite close enough there for young Jonas Nakurian as he works himself into that bus stop chicane for the first time. But he is our biggest mover on lap number 1 as the cars all storm to complete their first lap of this event. Martin Piatella is classified as out of the race. Marcus Caton also classified as out. They had their issues at the very start of this race. But out front, it is this guy, Ollie Picala, who leads the way as they work themselves up the hill. And you want to know what the gap is? Well, it's 2.2 seconds on the first lap of this event. Ollie Picala is absolutely storming right now to ride on board with him. So then, Ollie Picala, there you see him. There you see that gap back to Martin Kroenke. The gap between Kroenke and Benito is about 2 seconds on the racetrack himself. As there you see Benito, something's happened to Benito. We are getting word potentially that Benito is out of the race. If something has happened to him, we'll have to get ourselves a replay of that, see whether we can get anything up on our screen, see if anything's happened to Enzo Benito. As we're just going to have a look now. See, there we are, big trouble down at turn number 1. It involved Alexei Usiakola, so we'll have to get ourselves a replay of that to see exactly what happened. So, this is coming down, and these guys are working themselves down into the bus stop chicane. You can see Enzo Benito, he was working right there, I believe, on Martin Kroenke. So this is where this big mess started. It came out of the bus stop chicane. Then they'll be working themselves down towards turn number 1. keep our eye out on Enzo Benito coming down into that first corner. Doesn't make contact with Kroenke. No, two guys behind him. Oh, you see Alexei Usiakola just turning around Enzo Benito there. So that is what happened. We'll get ourselves another look of that. And you can see that Alexei Usiakola tried to make it 3 wide down into that first corner, La Source. As we're going to get a look here as they come down into that first corner. 2 wide racing becomes 3 wide racing. Yakola just outbrakes himself, touches there. Enzo Benito, melee on the racetrack. Hugo Luis able to get past all of it. We'll get one more look from this from on board with Alexei Usiakola to see exactly what happened. So here he is working himself out of that final corner. He will then come down to the inside, and you can see trying to look down to the inside of Martin Kroenke. There you see just tagging Enzo Benito, and those guys having a huge moment. Alexei Usiakola on pit road looking as though he is out of the race. So there is your race leader then. It is Ollie Picala. The gap between himself and Martin Kroenke as we work ourselves on lap number 3. Up to now 4 seconds almost on the racetrack. Martin Kroenke in second. Then you've got Andre Borcher now running in that 3rd position. We're getting word indeed. Enzo Benito is now classified as out of this event, joining Marcus Caton and Martin Vitella as drivers who will not take any further part in this event. From Martin Kroenke to Andre Borcher, it's about 0.5 of a second then to Hugo Luis, who runs himself in the 4th position right now on the racetrack. Then from Hugo Luis to Mitchell de Jong. De Jong having a great race so far. De Jong is now scored in P5 overall. And let's just have a look to get confirmation on this. Mitchell de Jong qualified a little bit further down the field. Since the drop at the start of this race, up 4 places. He's riding along board now with him as he works himself down through Blanchenois. He's going to try and make a move on Hugo Luis. So they come down to the bus stop, looking mighty fast in that Orion racing car. Down to the inside he will go, and he's going to get that job done into the bus stop chicane there. Great move by the Orion Racing Team driver on Mitchell de Jong. Once again having a storming race here, potentially also showing the fact that we have got 2 different strategies in play here, the 1-stoppers and the 2-stoppers. De Jong potentially could be on a 2-stopper just behind there. Hugo Luis almost getting run over by Yuhu Abe, who runs himself in that 6th place right now on the racetrack. So they'll come down into a Rouge then through Dillon once again to ride on board right now with Yuhu Abe as they come down that back straight. You can see drivers trying to break the draft all over the place. Hugo Luis having to get himself back into line as we ride with Yuhu Abe in that running racing team car. Through the Coombe they come. And you have to say right now that Yuhu Abe having a strong race. Of course, Mitchell de Jong having a great race right now as these guys are battling for P4, P5, P6 on the racetrack. Whilst this is all going on, Ollie Picala is continuing to eke out that gap over Martin Kroenke. Now up to 5 seconds on the racetrack. There you see Ollie Picala, and there you see Martin Kroenke just working himself out of Pool 2 right now, and that gap is increased. And also, Kroenke's gap over Borcher has increased quite a lot as well. You want to know where Gregor Hutu, your 3-time champion, is. We haven't yet talked about him, but Hutu classified, get this, in the 28th place right now. So Hutu involved in that melee a little bit earlier on, classified P28 on the racetrack. He has made himself 1 pit stop, 10.8 seconds. So Gregor Hutu, this very well could be his streak over. He is down in the 28th place on the racetrack right now. So let's see actually whether you can actually get a look to see if anything happened to Gregor Hutu, whether or not he was involved in that melee. We'll try and have a look back to have a look at the incident, of course, with Enzo Benito a little bit earlier on. Then we'll see if we can pick up Gregor Hutu in this. There you can see him. We'll ride along board with Gregor Hutu. And this was with him with Hugo Luis. A little bit loose coming out of the bus stop chicane. Then we're going to get this melee down into turn number 1. Let's see what happens to Gregor Hutu here. So there's that moment ahead of him. He does get ahead actually of his teammate. I don't see any contact there, but Hutu losing a lot of positions there. Now, does something happen after this incident? You see they're 2 wide down into Air Rouge. Oh no! Gregor Hutu losing it down at Air Rouge. That is a very rare incident for Gregor Hutu. I don't think I've seen anything like that in this series in an incredibly long time. Let's get another look from Gregor Hutu. I never realised it was something that significant riding on board of him through Air Rouge. Now, I'm not sure if he was helped there. We'll have to get one more look at that. But by the looks of it, potentially Gregor Hutu lost it down at Eau Rouge. Now, let's see when we get a better look. You can see that's Enzo Benito in the background. They come down into Eau Rouge. Let's see whether there is any contact as they come down. No, he just lost it all by himself there. Gregor Hutu, what a moment down at Eau Rouge. He did keep it out of the barriers for the most part, but that is why he is down in 28th position overall on the racetrack. Crazy stuff there for Hutu. Meanwhile, this guy is classified as your race leader. Oli Piccardo now with a 7-second advantage almost over Martin Conque as we conclude lap number 5 here at the circuit at Spa-Francorchamps. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can keep in contact with us on Twitter, also on our YouTube channel as well. If you'd like to give us a shout out here today, I'd like to give a shout out to Nicholas Morse. He is watching this race here today, asking, isn't De Jong a Rallycross driver? I think that he is. We'll try and find that one out. Also, big shout out to Jack Hamerick. Unfortunately, doesn't look as though Enzo Benito is going to be winning this race here today. Let's have a look a little bit further down the field, because Juhu Abe has been able to get himself now ahead of Hugo Louise, as he is having a look from the rear of Juhu Abe's race car. You can see just in the background will be Hugo Louise. They come out of this corner, but Juhu Abe now up into P5 on the racetrack. We are getting word that potentially, as in fact, Juhu Abe, is he going to try and have a look down to the inside? No, he won't there. That is about for 4th place with Andre Borcher just right ahead of him on the racetrack right now. And you can see the gap behind from Abe to Hugo Louise is about 2 seconds on the racetrack, but it does look as though potentially Abe is getting held up a little bit by Borcher right now as they work themselves out of Varden and run themselves down to Pouin once again to ride back along board with Juhu Abe in that running racing team car. Now, we're getting word that potentially Abe could be on a 2-stop strategy here today. We could believe that some of them are on a 1-stop strategy, and they work themselves down into that Fangin chicane once again. We'd also like to give a shout out very quickly to team principal for Team Redline, Dom Duhan, saying that there was slight contact actually down into Eau Rouge, which is the cause of Gregor Hutu's spin. Of course, he has made one pit stop in this event, and he is now scored down at the rear of the field in 28th position. There you see him, Gregor Hutu, the lowest he has run in an iRacing.com World Championship race in over 2 years right now, down in 28th position. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not a mirage. Gregor Hutu is at the rear end of the lead lap, just one person behind him running this race, and that is Paulo Mulia in that number 48 car. Actually moved Gregor Hutu just ahead there of Dion Verges, you see, down into the Fangin chicane. Gregor Hutu able to get past Verges. Verges losing a position there, but he's got some very substantial front wing damage in that number 18 car. So then, having a little bit of a look further up the field, that battle with Abe continues, but a good battle going on right now with Ilka Pardo, right along board with him, and Jonas Nakurian ahead of him. Now, Nakurian, we said that he had a good start to this race. He is now scored in the top 10 as Ilka Hapara closing just a little bit as they work themselves down into the Lacombe complex on the racetrack. But for young Jonas Nakurian, now this is crazy. Look how many positions he has gained. 9 spots since the lights went out to start this race. Now, any of you who are fans of the Radical Steel Series team will know just how Jeremy Boosloop had a fantastic race in the summer Spa race last year. Looks as though that Nakurian is going to do exactly the same thing in that number 38 Radical Steel Series Simulator. You can check out his onboard from the Radicals website as well. One of the great onboards that we have for this race here today. But right now Nakurian is putting pressure on Rocco Baroni. As you can see, the gap between these two drivers is about 0.3 of a second on the racetrack as we're having a look from the rear of Rocco Baroni coming out of Stavro, that run down now towards Blanchimont and then the famous bus stop chicane. Looks as though Nakurian's going to have a look down to the inside as they come down into that corner. Will Nakurian get the job done? The answer to that one is going to be potentially side-by-side racing. Will Nakurian be able to do the crossover? The answer to that one is going to be no. Out of the bus stop, Nakurian stays in line for the time being as they continue to battle over P8 on the racetrack. Rocco Baroni able to hold on for a couple of corners there, but good chance that Nakurian might be able to get a good run out of Eau Rouge as they continue. Look at the gaggle of cars you see there on your racetrack. P8 all the way back to about P15 on the racetrack. mighty close between those guys, as we'll have a look now as this battle will continue. We'll have a look once again on board with Nakurian. Going to go to the outside there, and it looks like Nakurian will get that job easily done over Rocco Baroni. The answer is going to be, will that Orion Racing Team car also get the move done? The answer is going to be no, but Nakurian moves himself up into P8 on the racetrack. Great stuff. So there you see Nakurian now up into P8, but you can see throughout this gaggle of cars as well, you've got yourselves in the mix here Mogar Philo, Alexia Loma, Jake Sturgis, Alex Simpson, and also Christian Lorente just starting to form the rear of this train. As there you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all separated on the racetrack. Now, we talked about strategy potentially being key here today. For some of these drivers, if they are on a two-stop strategy and stuck in this gaggle of cars, their race is pretty much going to be over, and they're going to have to hope they can transfer onto a one-stop strategy. As it stands right now, we are going to get the ticker running at the top of your screen in just one moment's time, but you can see the battle continuing for those guys on the racetrack. And for Gregor Hutu, he is still scored at the rear of the field. For those of you just asking, he has won 8 races so far. It's going to be 2, 3, almost 3 wide there. As we'll have a look on board with Alexia Loma. He's involved in that mix. He's going to try and get the job done. I think he does get the job done there over Mogar Philo. But what a run Alexia Loma is having in this event here today. As we ride along board him in that Glacier Racing number 44 car, working himself down into La Source once again. Gregor Hutu has won 8 races so far this season, as Loma gets so loose out of La Source there. That could really hurt his charge as they come down into Eau Rouge, but you can see he's still gaining a little bit on that Orion Racing Team car ahead of him. Now let's go back on board. As you see ahead of him, here comes that Orion Racing Team car all the way down onto the grass to make that pass happen. Beautiful stuff there over Rocco Baroni. Alexia Loma not able to get the job done there. We'll have to get a replay of that though, because that was some absolutely beautiful driving just in front of Alexia Loma. So there is, you see, Alexia Loma on the racetrack. What you want to keep an eye out though is on Ilkka Hapala as he goes pretty much 4 wheels down to the grass. As here we see riding along board with him down to the outside, you see 2 wheels on that white line onto that grass, able to get that job done. There you can see back from him over Rocco Baroni. Ilkka Hapala moving himself up into 9th place on the racetrack. We'll get ourselves one more look at that. So this is themselves working themselves out of Rodillion, now down towards that fungus chicane once again. 2 wide racing, and you will see as the camera switches over, there we are. Ilkka Hapala able to get that move made over Rocco Baroni, moving himself up 1 position on the racetrack. Ladies and gentlemen, Ollie Picarda continues to lead this event right now, and the gap between himself and Mitchell de Jong is now actually up to 11.2 seconds on the racetrack. Now, de Jong has been able to get himself past Martin Kroenke, and we're having a look, a moment potentially for Andre Borcher. We are just going to see if we can find anything out about that. But it does look as though that Andre Borcher has fallen back a little bit in this event. Martin Kroenke was running in that 2nd position. He's now down into 3rd position. We are just having a look to see whether we can see anything with Borcher or Kroenke, and just having a look to see whether there's anything we can see on Borcher. We can't. For Martin Kroenke, he has lost a position as well to Yuhue whilst we're talking about that battle for the mid-pack. But Mitchell de Jong now runs himself in 2nd place on the racetrack. De Jong, in turn, now has a 3-second advantage over Martin Kroenke as they work themselves on lap number 10 of 44 here at Spa. There you see Mitchell de Jong in that Orion Racing Team car. He is up 7 spots since the lights went out to start this race. An absolutely amazing start to his event. Now, if guys are on a 3-stop strategy, they will be on pit road in the next 2 to 3 laps. If they are on a 2-stop strategy, we expect them on pit road somewhere around that lap 15 to 18 mark. For a 1-stop strategy, expect to see him on pit road anywhere between laps 20 and 25. As you say, lap number 10 here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. And Paul Ilbrink right now. Ilbrink's had a good start to this race, up 12 spots in that Radicals car. We do expect all of the Radical drivers to be on that alternate strategy as we ride along board with Ilbrink. And of course, Spa is one of those places where you really can overtake Ilbrink up 12 spots. Started 18th, now running in the 6th place on the racetrack as he works himself out of that bus stop chicane. And he is putting the pressure now on a couple of guys. And you see, like, Hugo Luis has dropped back a little bit as well, running in that 7th place on the racetrack. But for Luis, he won't be too unhappy about that just yet. If he's on a one-stop strategy, potentially he could be okay. But Hugo Luis, there you see him up on your screen now in that Ferrari Motorsports car. He has lost himself 2 positions since the lights went out to start this race. And he has scored 22 seconds behind race leader, which is Ollie Picard right now on the racetrack as we ride on board with Hugo Luis. So then, it continues on lap number 11. Rocco Baroni, Mo Garfield, they are continuing a battle. Look how close this one is as these guys continue to work themselves on the race. We're going to get a replay of this, actually. We do believe that a pass has just been made in that Baroni-Filo mix. And also, Il Capaldi, by the way, has just been able to get himself past Jonas Nakurian. But we're going to ride on board with Mo Garfield in just one moment's time. As we now do so, there is Mo Garfield, and there you can see all these guys very close ahead of him as they run down into the Lacombe complex. And there you see Rocco Baroni again battling, this time with one of the iNEX racing drivers of Jake Sturgis, side-by-side racing as they work themselves down into Lacombe. And that time Rocco Baroni wasn't able to do anything on that in that Movano X-Team car, running himself in 12th place right now on the racetrack. So this is what we're talking about. Ilka Hapada, by the way, has now got himself ahead of Jonas Nakurian. So Hapada running himself right now in P8 on the racetrack, and Jonas Nakurian down into P9 for the time being. There you see the confirmation, the gap on your screen. 0.6 of a second on the racetrack between Hapada and Nakurian as it stands, as they now are into what is that 2-stop window. If they are going to 2-stop, they could potentially pit any time from now, and they are inside that window. Now, for Ollie Picard, we do potentially expect to see him on pit road in the next couple of corners. We're just having a look there at Yuhu Abe as they work themselves down into Lacombe, working themselves out of Lacombe as he is trying to make a move right now on Martin Kroenke in that battle for 3rd place on the racetrack. Yuhu Abe, since the start of this race, up 7 places in that running racing team car, putting pressure on Martin Kroenke in that Ferrari Motorsports car as they work themselves now down towards Prix. Now your next big passing opportunity should be into the bus stop chicane. We have seen a couple of passes down into Fangya, so we'll stick with this for just one moment's time. Doesn't look as though that time Yuhu Abe is going to be close enough to get the job done. Working themselves out of Fangya and now down towards Stavolo, and you can just see how close that gap is there. So they work themselves out of Stavolo 1, now down into Stavolo 2 as we ride back on board with Yuhu Abe as they will now charge down towards the bus stop chicane. You can see already Martin Kroenke going offline to try and break that toe, but Yuhu Abe will get the toe down here. Now he's going to have a chance to go around the outside by the look of it. Martin Kroenke won't give him that inside line, but Yuhu Abe will get that pass complete, moving himself up into P3 on the racetrack. Good job there by Yuhu Abe, now up into that 3rd place, and that is now 10 spots gained since the drop of the green flag to start this event. And there you can see just a little bit behind Paul Ilbrink running himself in P5 right now, Andre Borcher in 6th, then Hugo Luis in 7th, Ilka Hapard just at the rear of your screen in P8, Jonas Nakurian in P9, and then Alexi Loma, racing right there, running in the 10th position. Aloma is having a good race here today. He's had a tough race so far this season, but he's up 10 positions since the start of this race, and his pace could be a bit of an indication to see what your race leader, Ollie Picardo, is doing. As you see, there is your second Glacier Racing driver. There is your lead Glacier Racing driver of Ollie Picardo as they come down into Pouin once again, lap number 13 here. And for Ollie Picardo, he is now in that window. Of course, we have lost a couple of drivers in this race so far. Enzo Benito, Marcus Caton, Martin Piatella. We also had Alexi Usiakola having to make a pit stop, who's involved in that melee on lap number 2. As we're having a look now at Ollie Picardo, the gap to P2 up to 13.2 seconds on the racetrack. Mitchell de Jong running in that second place, and then in third place right now is Martin Kroenke. For those of you who are wondering where Gregor Hutto is, well, he's up now into P24 on the racetrack. We're just going to stick with Ollie Picardo for one moment, see if he comes on pit road this time by with 13 laps scored complete. As you see, no, he won't come onto pit road, but we'll have a look at Gregor Hutto, because there you see, he is in that P24 on the racetrack right now, as we'll ride along board with him, and the car ahead of him, well, that is Robin Friscops. Hutto, the reason why he is so far down on the racetrack is he had a moment down on Eau Rouge on lap number 2 in this event, which put him down a number of positions. He's also made a pit stop. Now, whether or not he's topped that car up to the very brim to try and get him towards a one-stop window for the rest of the race, we do not know, but Gregor Hutto definitely is off strategy and is struggling right now. Drivers who have made pit stops, by the way, you have Lexi Yusiakola, Isaac Price, Robin Friscops, Paolo Mulia, Mikhail Mancusi, and Lee Thompson, and of course Gregor Hutto have each made pit stops. Things are settling down at the front of the pack, but let's check in with Alex Simpson very quickly, because he right now, as we ride along board of him, running in that 12th position, trying to close up to the rear of Jake Sturgis. Now, historically, we know iRacing, some of the fastest cars in a straight line in a series. Alex Simpson, though, a great run through Eau Rouge. He's going to be close, but I don't think he'll be close enough as he comes down into Lacombe. Will he try and do a last-minute breakdown to the inside? The answer is going to be no. Alex Simpson stays in line, and he remains in that 12th place on the racetrack. Ilka Hapala, Hugo Louise, they continue their battle for P7 on the racetrack. So we're having a look now at Ilka Hapala. Just ahead of him is Hugo Louise. Just ahead of him is Andre Borchin. Now, potentially the Ferrari Motorsports guys are on a one-stop strategy. In fact, they're going to have to hope they're on a one-stop strategy, which is why they've fallen back a little bit now, but they will be stronger in the second part of their stint, when everyone else has to take more fuel, and they will be running on a much lighter car. But this is Ilka Hapala as they work themselves out of Stavolo 2, and now down this very long back straightaway with a couple of tweaks in it, which will lead themselves down to the bus stop chicane. And here comes Hapala down to the inside, into Blanchimont. He gets that job done over, wow, gets the job done over Hugo Louise. Hugo Louise will not try and attack again down into the bus stop chicane. Great pass there. Let's get a replay of that, of Ilka Hapala. Here it is set up down into the run towards Blanchimont, going down the inside. You never really want to go too wide through here, but Ilka Hapala, nice run out of Stavolo 2, gets himself the move done. Then it comes down into the bus stop chicane. Ilka Hapala up into 7th place on the racetrack. Your race leader remains Ollie Picardo, leading every single lap of this event so far. Gap between himself and de Jong now up to 14 seconds on the racetrack. And de Jong himself isn't doing a bad run so far. Just having a look at their lap times. We'll run through your top 5. Last time by a 1 minute 46.804 for Ollie Picardo, his fastest lap of the race. He is getting very close now to that window, which is open. He very well could be on pit road in the next lap or so. Mitchell de Jong, his fastest lap last time by also a 1 minute 47.219. Has got a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him, which you can see up on your screen. That is a teammate, however, so he should likely just let him pass. Indeed, he should do so. Then, UA running in that 3rd position, 1 minute 47.3 last time by for him as he works himself out of Stavolo 2. Martin Kroenke, a 1 minute 48.337 for him. That last time by. And then for Paul Ilbrink now running in 5th, a 1 minute 47.794 was his last lap of the race. Pretty much all fastest laps of the race for these guys, however, as we're having a look at Paul Ilbrink as he works himself down towards that bus stop chicane once again. There you see Ilbrink coming down out of that final corner, now working himself down towards La Source one more time. And oh, Ollie Picardo is on pit road, so there you can see Ollie Picardo going to make his first pit stop of the day here, and he's going to get himself 4 fresh tyres, and he will top up with race fuel as well. And there we see Ollie Picardo back out onto the racetrack, P5 for him. Pit time, well, that is a 9-second pit stop there for Ollie Picardo. And we'll get ourselves a look at that once again in just a couple of moments' time. But Ollie Picardo back out onto the racetrack, and you see 2 cars right behind him, battling for position. That is Andre Borcher and Ilka Hapala, and Hapala losing a position there. Borcher losing a position to Ilka Hapala. Hapala moves himself up into P6 on the racetrack. This is going to be a critical lap now for Ilka Hapala, as Mitchell de Jong will be classified as your race leader officially as they cross the start finish line next time by. But Ilka Hapala at this stage of the race should be faster than Oli Picala. Of course, Picala now has got more fuel on board, so for Hapala, he might have to be aggressive to find himself ahead of Picala, especially once he gets into that dirty air. But your new race leader is another Orion Racing Team driver. That is Mitchell de Jong, as he works himself now down into Blanchimont on lap number 16 of 44 here. Will he come onto pit road this time by? We'll keep an eye out on him. One lap can actually make about a 2-second difference here. Will he make that journey onto pit road? The answer is going to be no. He will stay out, so he will officially be the leader at the line. Mitchell de Jong is now going to be classified as your official race leader in that number 51 car. His first laps officially led in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Hugh Abe now up into second place as he works himself out of last source. The gap to the race leader between him and Mitchell de Jong, however, is about 6 seconds on the racetrack. Abe having another good run, and Run and Racing have had some very good runs in this series so far this year. As we ride on board with Hugh Abe out of Rodillo, now working himself down the Camel straightaway. And you can see up to 191 miles an hour. Now the drive can be a big impact on the overall top speed as Abe comes down into the Lacombe complex once again. To give you guys an update on anyone else who's come down onto pit road, Alexei Yusiakola, of course, he's made a pit stop earlier. And just having a look down the field, looks like Isaac Price has made a second pit stop here today. A couple of other people have made stops as well on the racetrack, those guys on a 2-stop strategy. We do expect a couple of these guys to be on pit road soon if they haven't yet come into pit road. We're getting word that potentially we might have had a couple of the Radicals guys on pit road. We're just checking that one out. We'll let you know as soon as we know anything. But Martin Cronke, running himself right now in third place, has got a very fast Paul Ilbrink behind him as he works himself. I believe that he's through Fungus Chicane, that short run now down in towards Stavolo, as having a look from the rear now of Martin Cronke. So then, just 4 tenths of a second the gap between those couple of drivers as they work themselves back down towards the bus stop chicane. Mitchell de Jong has come out of that bus stop chicane. It doesn't look as though yes, he has. Mitchell de Jong is pitting this time by. So Mitchell de Jong is on pit road. Let's ride along board with him. Very slow pit road speed here, just 37 miles an hour as de Jong comes into his pit box. Out and away then for Mitchell de Jong, 8.7 seconds on the gun, and he'll come back out in P10 on the racetrack. Let's see where he feeds in, if there's anyone around him. Yes, he is. He's going to be mighty close to ride back on board with him. 8.7 stock for him on the racetrack as he's come back out of pit road even. But he has got a nice clear track behind him, so there's no one who's really going to be putting too much pressure on him on this run down in towards Lacombe. Losing out to Jake Sturgis. There you can see, front of your picture is Jake Sturgis. Then it is Mitchell de Jong, and then behind him is Rocco Baroni right now running in the 11th place. Christian Lorente there just behind in 12th, and then Risky Iwasaki in 13th, Fulvio Barazini 14th, and there you see Alexei Yusiakola. He had a tough day here today, running in that 15th position right now, putting a little bit of pressure on Fulvio Barazini. Running in that 14th position. But this guy is now classified as your race leader. It is Hugh Abe in that number 30 car. Out of Davolo number 2, he comes running down towards Blanchimont as we ride along board with Hugh Abe. The gap between himself and Martin Cronke, well, it is 7 seconds on the racetrack right now. And for Hugh Abe, they say, will he come onto pit road this time by? The answer to that question is yes, he will. So there you see Hugh Abe coming down to 37 miles an hour. That will bring that race lead over to Martin Cronke. Cronke stays out. You just saw at the top of your screen, you see coming past start finish time. There you can just see behind Hugh Abe on pit road as he's going to make his first stop of the day. Got a car swim past. Got another couple of people onto pit road as well. And one of the Orion Racing Team drivers of Ilka Hapala on pit road. You've also got Jonas Lukurian on pit road. Out and away there for Juho Abe. He's back out onto the racetrack. 8.5 seconds for him. Ilka Hapala onto pit road. He's going to be about a 9 second stop there for Ilka Hapala. Jonas Lukurian, 8.6 second stop. And now you've also got Mogar Fido on pit road. And he is doing his pit stop. 7 seconds, 8 seconds. Out and away, 7.7 seconds as Fulvio Barrazzini also making his pit stop. A long stop there for Fulvio Barrazzini. 9.9 seconds on the gun. So then, a number of drivers coming to pit road that time by. Now it's Martin Kroenke who leads the way as he comes back down in towards pool one, number 1. There you see pool 1, then flicks it down into 2, flat out through there. As now we see Martin Kroenke in that Ferrosa Motorsports car down into the Fungi chicane. And Martin Kroenke, of course, has had a great middle part of this season, getting himself ahead of Hugo Louise in the championship for the time being. Out of stablo number 2 he comes. Now the question will be, will he come into pit road this time by? And for those of you who are just joining us, you will notice that Gregor Hutu is struggling so far in this race. He's down in the 24th position. We'll bring you another replay of what happened with him in just one moment's time. We are keeping an eye out, of course, on Martin Kroenke. And here's something very interesting to know. That Oli Picard, there you see Kroenke, there you see Picard, isn't that far back. And Picard has already made one stop. So, regardless of strategies here, it looks like this could very well work out for Oli Picard as we ride along board with him through La Source. And there is the gap to the leader right now, just 2 seconds on the racetrack in that Glacier Racing car. Oli Picard already almost has a pit stop advantage over Martin Kroenke. That could be critical over the next part of this event. So then, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are just joining us wondering why Gregor Hutu is so far down the pack, this might explain it just a little bit. Keep an eye out on Gregor Hutu. This is down into La Source in just one moment's time. You will see that there are 2 separate incidents. The first one of these is going to involve Alexei Yusiakola as he'll work himself down, go into a free-wide situation, tagging Enzo Benito. Enzo Benito then going out of the race. There you see the carnage there. Hutu has to go the long way around to avoid that one. Then he'll work himself down, 2 wide, down into Air Rouge, and this is when things get really crazy as Gregor Hutu going side by side, loses that car, spins it around, makes contact, just misses the tyre barriers. Could have been reminiscent of Jacques Villeneuve back in 1999, but that is the reason why Gregor Hutu is scored down the field. He is right now in the 17th position on the racetrack in that Team Redline car. He has made 1 pit stop. He might have to make at least 1 more in this event. So Martin Kroenke continues to lead from Oli Picard. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a good time for us to just step aside for 1 moment here on Racesport TV. We'll be right back after this short message.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down to super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93 39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race for the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you
Brad
love it.
Davies, here we go.
You love it. The 1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump for first place.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the next round of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com will be August 26th as the drivers head over to Atlanta Motor Speedway just around Labor Day weekend. It will be here on iRacing Live and on PSR TV. Meanwhile, we welcome you back to coverage of the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series here from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and the battle is heating up out front right now between Martin Cronkey and Ollie Picard. There you see Martin Cronkey, there you see the gap behind. Ollie Picard now just 7/10 of a second back in that battle for the race lead. Picard has made 1 pit stop so far. Cronkey has made 0 pit stops so far. Picard is looking incredibly strong in this event right now. So here we are, halfway this time by. Will Cronkey come onto pit road? No, they won't, but now could be a good chance for Picard to really close up as we're riding on board with him. The gap is now down to 7/10 of a second. Now for Picard, he needs to try and get past, if he at all can, over Martin Cronkey, because when Cronkey comes out of pit road, he will have fresher tyres than Picard. Picard could be using up a lot of his tyres in that dirty air right now, so if he can get past in these next 3 to 4 laps, he really should try to do so as they continue to battle for that overall race lead. Having a look a little further back, things have settled down. Jake Sturgios, by the way, is on pit road. So Jake Sturgios on pit road. There you see 11.5 seconds out and away for him. As we've also got Risku Osake on pit road, and a 9-second stop, 10 seconds, 11-second stop for him. 11.5, he is back out onto the racetrack as well. Isaac Price making a stop. There you see. So all of these guys on one-stop strategies now onto pit road. Isaac Price, about an 11-second stop for him as he will come back out and away. And then Lee Thompson as well, making a pit stop, a long pit stop for him. He's had some damage earlier on in this event. But Friscops also, you see, making his pit stop there. 10, 11 seconds out and away. 11.5 there for Robin Friscops. So then Martin Cronkey will work himself down. We're into the second half of this event now. And for Martin Cronkey, he will be expected on pit road in the next 2, maybe 3 laps time. So we'll keep an eye out on him. So we're having a look now from the rear of Martin Cronkey as they come down into the bus stop chicane. Will he come into pit road this time? But the answer to that one is going to be no. He'll stay out for 1 more lap. Ollie Picard still 7/10 of a second behind. Last time by for Martin Cronkey, a 1:47.659, and then behind him it is Ollie Picard, who last time by did himself a 1:47.661 as we ride back along board with Ollie Picard as they come through Eau Rouge. Give you an update. Yuhu Abe, after making his pit stop, is running in that 7th place. But here's Hugo Louise, very close now. Ride along board with him. Will he try and make the pass? No, he doesn't actually. And this is him battling with his teammate Andre Borcher in that Ferrari Motorsports car. Hugo Louise is classified 4th place right now. Don't forget, all these Ferrari Motorsport drivers haven't yet made a pit stop in this event. So Martin Cronkey, Andre Borcher, Hugo Louise haven't yet made a pit stop. As here's Christian Laurent actually into the wall. So something's happened to Christian Laurent there in that GT Ross car We'll see when we get a replay of that, see exactly what happened to him, but pushing the Rem into the wall. Not very often you see drivers in this series having crashes at that part of the racetrack. Let's see what happened to him. Was there a little bit of contact involved? This is down into Lacombe, loses it all by himself there. I don't think we've seen anyone do that in quite a while. Now, of course, Alexei Yakoda, first run of the championship, had a moment down into Lacombe, but here is Christian Laurent. You can see car very close behind him. That is Yuhu Abe as they come down into Lacombe, and then we'll ride on board with Laurent into that corner, just loses the back end of that car, and he just misses the tyre barrier there. Oli Picardo has closed that gap down by about a tenth of a second, as one more time Martin Cronke stays out. Guys, he haven't yet made a pit stop. Martin Cronke, Oli Picardo, Martin Cronke, Andre Borcher, Hugo Louise, Christian Laurent hasn't made a pit stop, but we do expect him in this time by, and Jorn Yen. So it does look as though it is mainly the Ferrari Motorsports drivers who haven't yet made a pit stop, as well as Christian Laurent. But of course, he had his moment. He does stay out on the racetrack in that GT Ross car. Of course, he didn't touch that tyre barrier. However, there is a good chance that his tyres might be overheated right now. So he's going to have to be careful on this next run down into Lacombe. We'll run along board with him for just one moment. So this is that place where Christian Laurent moved himself towards those tyre barriers in that Intel Inside GT Ross car. Here he is, much better that time through the corner. Doesn't have to worry about a car behind him. He is through without any further issues. But Oli Picardo has gained a lot this lap. So potentially Martin Cronke having to save a little bit of fuel to get himself to pit stops. We do expect Martin Cronke in this time by. Here is Oli Picardo having a look from him. There you see your race leader just ahead, Martin Cronke. The gap to the lead, well, that is just 0.3 of a second. You see that Picardo actually hasn't got the straight line speed to close up and pass, as we've seen some other guys do in this event. Let's see whether or not Cronke will come into pit road this time by. Picardo a little bit early onto the brakes, and there you see it is going to be now Cronke on towards pit road. Oli Picardo resumes the race leaders. There you see Martin Cronke coming into your shot now. He is going to make his first pit stop of the day. And we did see another car coming in. We believe that is Hugo Louise also onto pit road. There you'll see coming down now along with his teammate Andre Borcher. So let's first have a look at Martin Cronke as he comes down to make his pit stop. And let's get the pit clock up for him. Into his box he is. Now, we saw other guys in one-stop tragedies do 11.5 second stops earlier on, as we just lost him there. But there we see all three of those guys very close together. It's a 10.7 stop there for Martin Cronke as he comes back out onto the racetrack. There you also see Andre Borcher, who will win that battle between himself and Hugo Louise. They're going to come out right, literally nose to tail. Andre Borcher and Hugo Louise, they come just behind the wall there. They'll come back out onto the racetrack the same way they came in. Andre Borcher ahead of Hugo Louise. So there you see Andre Borcher, there you see Hugo Louise right behind him. So Louise, not that fast a pit stop. They came in nose to tail, but unfortunately Andre Borcher was able to keep that advantage. But look at the run that Hugo Louise gets down into Lacombe. I don't think it's going to be enough though. Will Hugo Louise look down to the inside? The answer is going to be no, not this time by. Having a look down the field, you've got Isaac Price right now. He's trying to make a move to ride along board with him. And he's trying to make a move on Risky Urisake. This is about for 19th place on the racetrack. Now, Price getting a good run up the hill here. Looking as though he's going to try and go down to that inside. Our next racing car, we know, is strong in a straight line. Will he try and go down to the inside? No, he won't. The running racing car, good pace by him, able to hold on into Lacombe. Behind Paolo Mulia's, right behind Michele Scherzini right now as they work themselves out of that corner. And here we see Mulia riding along board with him. Two Italian drivers side by side. Mulia will get that job done over Michele Scherzini, moving himself up into P25 on the racetrack. Isaac Price has actually just been able to get himself ahead there of Risku, just away from our screen. We'll see if we can get ourselves a replay of that one. So here it is, side by side, coming down into the corner, inside line there for Price. Makes it work in reverse. What a pass there by Isaac Price. They stay side by side into that left-hander. Now Price is on the outside line, able to get the job done into Prix. We'll get ourselves another replay of that because that was some spectacular driving between those two drivers. Here we see running themselves down. This is where this all started, down into Lecurim, right along board now with Isaac Price. There you see he'll look down to the inside into Ravage. Let's get our 360 cam up. You'll see he'll go side by side of that running racing car of Iwasaki, almost making contact. Then they'll come down into the left-hander. Now Isaac Price gets a better run. All four wheels off there. That will get him an incident point, but Isaac Price getting himself up one position in that INX racing car. He is having a tough day in this event so far, however. Your race leader, once again, is Oli Picala, as we're now completing 27 laps of 44 here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Everyone has now made one stop, but the guys on a two-stop strategy, they will be on pit road in the next 3 to 4 laps time. Ladies and gentlemen, what that does, it gives us a moment to step aside for just one moment more, then we'll be back with continuing coverage of this, the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Stick with us, we shall be right back.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the front. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
here we go.
You love it. The 1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big choke.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series will take place in 2 weeks' time as we make our second trip to the Interlagos circuit. It's a track where Hugo Louise scored his one and only victory on home soil this season. He'll be hoping to make it a clean sweep of races. That'll be 2 weeks' time here on Racespot TV and iRacing Live. The next round of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com will take place August 26th on PSR TV and MRN. 163 laps around the Atlanta Motor Speedway as that series gets closer and closer to its conclusion as well. And you can view all World Championship races on iRacing Live. Welcome back to coverage of this, the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Don't forget, check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/RacesportTV. Follow me on Twitter as well, at Will Vincent. This guy is your race leader. It is Oli Picala. He continues to lead the way here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, and he has led today a total of 19 laps. Other guys who have led laps, Mitchell de Jong, Yuhu Abe, Martin Cronquet have all led laps. Just very quickly, we're going to run through your top 5. Oli Picala, as I say, he has led the most laps so far. Right now, the gap between himself and Mitchell de Jong up to 17 seconds on the racetrack, as Picala just working himself out of the bus stop chicane down towards La Source once again. Picala on a 2-stop strategy. Mitchell de Jong, however, let's not forget, had a good run in the first stint of this race, and for de Jong, as we'll have a look at him now, coming out of that bus stop, he is up a total of 7 spots since lights went out to start this race. Qualified in 9th position, now running in 2nd place, looking to get his first podium in this series. Captured himself and Yoo-Hoo Abe, 7.6 seconds on the racetrack right now, but a good result so far by Abe as well. He's got himself a 10-second buffer over Martin-Croncay. However, he will have to make one additional pit stop in this event. Now, Abe qualified for this race on the 11th position, now running in 3rd place, but he will have to do a lot to try and secure that podium finish for him. Then running in the 4th position is Martin-Croncay. He's got himself a 1-second gap right now over Ilkka Hapala as they continue their battle on the racetrack. There you see Martin-Croncay. There you see, just in the background, is Ilkka Hapala as they continue to battle for P4, P5 on the racetrack. Now, Martin-Croncay qualified for this race in 2nd. He's on a one-stop strategy, however. So running that 4th place, he might get a couple of those back, which will really help his championship charge, especially as Gregor Hutu has had a tough day here today. And for Ilkka Hapala, well, he's up 9 places since those lights went out to start this race. He is now running in the 5th position on the racetrack. To run through the rest of your top 10, it is Paul Elbrink in 6th, Jonas Zakurian in 7th, Hugo Luiz in 8th, Andre Borcha in 9th, and then Alexei Usiakola rounds out your top 10. By the way, Hugo Luiz has now been able to get himself ahead of Andre Borcha and has eked out a 1.5 second cushion as the two Ferrari Motorsports drivers are continuing to battle at the rear of the top 10. But all the Ferrari guys are running on a one-stop strategy, so we'll need to bear that one in mind because we could have an absolutely fascinating last couple of laps of this event. As Oli Picard is back onto pit road, as let's see what pit stop time is going to be for him. There you see him on pit road for the 2nd time here today. Conclusion of lap number 30, out and away, 8.7 second stop there for Oli Picard. So he's back out onto the racetrack, just having a look to see if there's anyone around him. No, there's not, so he's able to carry on. But Oli Picard making his 2nd stop, so that will hand the race lead back over to Mitchell de Jong as he pitted a couple of laps later that 1st stop. There he is right now, just working himself out of Lecumbe down towards Rivage once again. Just a little bit of lap traffic to get past. There he does, nice and easy for him. Mitchell de Jong as we ride along board of him for a couple of corners. So out of Poole he comes, down towards the Fungi chicane once again. Mitchell de Jong having a great race here in that Orion Racing team. And I have to say, he really has helped that Orion Racing team come back into the fold after a couple of difficult seasons. De Jong is really doing a lot of good. And of course, if he can get himself into the top 25 in points, he very well might be able to miss the need to run in the iRacing.com Pro Series of road racing. He just rides behind the trees there, coming down in towards the bus stop chicane. There you see him. There, will he pit this time by, or will he again go a couple of laps longer? And he is going to come onto pit road. So Mitchell de Jong just one additional lap this time by compared to Oli Picard. So Mitchell de Jong on towards pit road. We'll go on board with him as here he is onto pit road. Pit road speed for those of you just joining us, 37 miles an hour here today. 4 fresh tyres one more time. Going to top up with race fuel as well to get him done. 12 more laps. It will be a shorter stop. Last stop was about an 8 second, 7.9 second stop that time for Mitchell de Jong as he's back out onto the racetrack. There you see him just coming behind the wall, inside line through La Source, and he is back out onto the racetrack. You can see a nice gap to Hugo Luiz behind him as well. So for de Jong, this could well translate into an overall podium for him. Great run for that Orion Racing Team driver. Yoo-Hoo once again then classified with the overall race lead. He's officially led one lap in this event. It was a couple of laps longer than de Jong and Picard last time around, as there we see him coming down towards Pouin. But Yoo-Hoo A good result by him, and of course Running Racing have had some very good results so far this season. The biggest one, of course, most people remember at Montreal with Kazuki Omishima 3 laps away from winning the race before he hit that fabled Wall of Champions. But Yuhu Abe, not likely to win the race here today, but potentially able to get himself a podium finish. More likely an easy top 5 for him here today in that number 30 car as he looks to try and secure his World Championship license for 2015. We'll slide along board then for a couple of corners with Yuhu Abe. One of our many onboard cameras on Yuhu Abe. Will he come into pit road this time by? The answer is going to be yes. So there you see Yuhu Abe down to 37 miles an hour as he'll come just behind the trees there, as he will now come down and make his second pit stop of the day. There you see him, and he was going to get himself 4 more fresh tyres on. He'll top up with race fuel as well. There's his last pit stop time, and there you see back onto pit road again. Expect something around that 8-second window. 4 fresh tyres are on. Finishing fuel, 7.6 second stop that time by for Yuhu Abe. Back out onto the racetrack he will go. So Yuhu Abe back onto the racetrack, down to P6, of course. A couple of drivers yet to make their second stops of the day, but there you see Yuhu Abe was right back along board with him as he comes through, there you see, through Rodillion and now running down towards Lacombe once again. So, once again, Oli Picardo will be classified with your overall race leaders. There you see him running down Pool 1, now into Pool 2, and that run down into that Fong chicane one more time. There you see him just at the top of your screen, and into the Fong chicane he comes. First and left, then it's a right-hander, then he'll come down towards Stavolo one more time, and there will be 11 laps to go this time by in this event to run through your top 10. Picardo from Conke, from De Jong, from Louise, then Borgia, Abe, Baroni, Sturgios, Hapala and Ilbrink. They are your top 10. People classified out of the race. Well, there must be a Taylor, Marcus Gaton, Enzo Benito, Lee Thompson, Alex Simpson, and also Alexia Loma. Something's happened to him to put him out of this event as well. We are going to see whether we can figure out what has happened to Alexia Loma in this event, because it's been an up and down day so far for the Glacier Racing team in this event. Just having a look to see if there is anything we can see for Alexia Loma. We are just getting word that he might have just had an off. So we'll try to see if we can pick that one out for you after this event is done. But here we are, having a look down towards the middle pack of the field, and we have got Alexi Usiakola and Isaac Price battling for position right now, riding along board with Alexi Usiakola in that Glacier Racing number 26 car, right on the rear now of Isaac Price. Not quite going to be close enough though to make that pass down into the bus stop chicane. Those two stay pretty much nose to tail out of the chicane. Short run down to La Source. I don't think Yakola is going to have the chance to do anything with there, but let's get our cockpit cam on board now with Yakola coming down in towards turn number 1. And this is just absolutely magical stuff. We'll get our speed delta up here as they work themselves through Air Rouge and Rodillion. Yakola 185 miles an hour through the apex of that corner. Is he going to be close enough to make that pass there over Isaac Price? I don't think he is. You see Price has still got a couple of car lengths advantage. Now you see Yakola coming down to the inside. Dummies once, doesn't make it work though. And of course Yakola, first lap of the season, looped the car there at Lacombe. This time by, however, he is running in the 13th position. Not a great race to him, considering the fact that his teammate, Oli Picardo, is leading this race, and Yakola is 45 seconds back overall. But let's not forget, Yakola was involved in that incident on lap number 2 in this event to put him well down the field. So back on board with Yakola. They continue their battle for P12 on the racetrack as it stands right now. Just to let you know, Martin Kroenke has inherited second place overall. There you see your gap from Oli Picardo, your race leader, to Martin Kroenke running in second position, as Oli Picard just going past a little bit of lap traffic there, down in towards Lacombe. I believe that might be that TNT Racing driver. We'll come back to that in just one moment's time. Oh, Benjamin Lindsay just going down a lap there. But there you see the gap. It's about 11 seconds between Oli Picard and Martin Kroenke right now. Kroenke to de Jong, it's 5 seconds on the racetrack. But this is the interesting thing. Last time by, 1 minute 48.0 for Martin Kroenke. For Mitchell de Jong, it was a 1 minute 47.4. De Jong is catching Martin Kroenke right now to ride along with Mitchell de Jong as he works himself out of Rivage and down towards Pouin once again. Let's ride along board of him. Just getting himself past a little bit of lap traffic there is Mitchell de Jong. For those of you who are just joining us, Gregor Hutu is scored well down the field, down in the 18th position. There you see him in that 18th position in that Team Redline car. And for those of you just joining us, yes, I know some of you might be sick and tired of it, but this is that incident once again that happened a little bit earlier on. Now, this is as they ran themselves out of the bus stop chicane down towards turn number 1. Now, there are 2 incidents that you need to pay attention to. The first one will explain the reason why you have Alexei Usiakola so far down the field. Let's see if we can get a look at this down into turn number 1. There you see what is a 2-3 car incident. There you see Gregor Hutu working on the outside. But then we'll have a look on board with Gregor Hutu. He will go side by side down into Air Rouge, and then all of a sudden you see Hutu just losing that car, a little bit of contact, just misses the wall there. And that is the reason why he is so far down the field. 18th position, pretty much guaranteeing he is going to end his 7-win streak in this series. We've got one more look of that. There you see him, just losing it as they come up the hill. There you see Gregor Hutu losing that car, having to get it spun around. And then he has to pretty much wait all of the cars go past. Finally able to get that car back onto the racetrack, and he actually gets himself a slowdown penalty for that as well. So adding insult to injury, that is why Gregor Hutu is so far down the field in this event. But there is your race leader. It is Oli Picard. The gap between himself and Martin Kroenke up now to 11.5 seconds on the racetrack. The battle we are going to keep our eye out though on the remaining laps of this race is this one between Martin Kroenke and Mitchell de Jong. It's 4.6 seconds now, the gap between those two drivers. Last time by a 1 minute 47.7 for Martin Kroenke, a 1 minute 47.4 for Mitchell de Jong. So de Jong is still catching. He's going to have to push a little bit harder if he's going to gain and try and get that second place in the remaining laps of this event. Ilka Parla, Jake Sturgis, they continue a battle on the racetrack for P7 and P8 right now, as Jonas de Courier and Alexei Usiakola, they've just traded positions as well. We'll see if we can get a replay of that one out, see what happens to that. I believe that Yakola just able to get himself past Jonas de Courier, and we'll get a confirmation of that. There you see, we'll have a look on board now with Alexei Usiakola. In fact, no, we're not. We're having a look at Jonas de Courier by the looks of it. So there you'll see, having a look from the rear of Jonas de Courier as they come down into Pouin. You'll see in just one moment's time, Alexei Usiakola setting him up. This will be down into the Fung chicane, we believe, coming out of Pouin. Now you'll see Alexei Usiakola looking down to the left-hand side. Easy pass down into the Fung chicane. And that is how Alexei Usiakola is up into P11 now on the racetrack. So Jake Sturgis, Ilka Parla, as we say, that battle continues on the racetrack right now. So having a look from the rear of Jake Sturgis, the gap is 0.5 of a second on the racetrack between Sturgis and Hapala. Inex Racing's Jake Sturgis in 7th position. Ilka Hapala in the Orion Racing Team car in P8 as they work themselves back down towards Rivage once again. And there you see Jake Sturgis is just holding off Ilka Hapala right now as we ride along board with Ilka Hapala out of Pouin. Of course, this is a place where Yakola made the pass on the Courier, and however, this time by for Hapala nowhere near close enough to try and make a dab at Jake Sturgis in that battle for P7. So then, less than 10 laps to go in this event. It is still Ollie Picala who leads the way. Most of the battles have settled down. This is one of the best ones that we have. That battle for P7 and P8 on the racetrack between Sturgis and Ilka Hapana as they come down in towards the bus stop chicane once again. There you see Jake Sturgis, there you see Ilka Hapana. Of course, this time last year, this is where Jake Sturgis, that corner, had a bit of a run-in with Jeremy Bootsloop, and I know it caused a little bit of friction between himself and the Radical Steel Series team at the time. They did sort it out, but Jake Sturgis, Jeremy Bootsloop, a great battle to the line, and does look as though that Jake Sturgis could well be in for one of those once again, as we'll have a look one more time on board with Ilka Hapana as they work themselves up the hill. So Hapana, a much better run this time by. He's going to have to go the long way round, however. As you can see, side-by-side racing will be the case. Last late breakers, you can brake on the outside, down into Lacombe, and Ilka Hapana gets that job done over Jake Sturgis. So then replay of that moment, and you can just see a great run, setting himself perfectly on that outside line. Ilka Hapana in that silver and blue car, Jake Sturgis in the black, white and yellow car. Ilka Hapana just driving around the outside. He can pass on the outside into Lacombe. Ilka Hapana proving it one more time. He moves himself up into P7 on the racetrack. Yuhu Abe has caught up to the rear in the last laps of this race over Andre Borcher by the looks of it, as we're having a look from the rear of Yuhu Abe right now. But there you see Andre Borcher in that all-black car, Yuhu Abe in that running racing car. As we'll now have a look on board with Yuhu Abe coming out of that corner. There you can see, we'll turn that camera around and get himself a good run out of the bus stop chicane. Will he try and dance to the inside? No, he won't, but we'll stay on board with Abe as he tries to hunt down Andre Borcher. So he works himself down the hill and up the hill once again. Abe doesn't get a good run out of La Source. He'll need all of that horsepower as he works himself for Red Rouge. So Abe is going to try it the long way around as well as they come down into Lacombe. Will he get that job done? The answer is going to be no, he won't. You see Abe having to hold, and he goes a little bit deep into the corner that time by. That allows Andre Borcher to keep it ahead there. Let's get ourselves a replay of that one. So this is it. Down in towards Lacombe. These two drivers come once again. Abe in that green and black car. You see, he runs a little bit deep into the corner. And that's actually what happened to Alexei Ustiakola, the first lap on the first round of the championship. Run deep into the corner, and that is what led to then what became a concertina effect with Yakola just being chucked into the air as cars all swarmed to avoid him. But this time, Yuhu Abe is really putting that pressure on Andre Borcher. He will get another run as they work themselves out of Stavolo 2 now, down towards the bus stop chicane. You can see now on the top of your screen, 5 laps to go in this event. So Yuhu Abe tries around the outside again, down into the bus stop chicane. Not able to get the job done now. Really what he can do is try and set himself up for a better passing opportunity into La Source, because of course he can pass into that corner. But Abe not quite close enough as they come down into La Source once again. Great battle for P5 here. And of course for Yuhu Abe, the points mean quite a lot to him. He is close to the bubble as far as that top 25 goes, and maintaining his World Championship license for 2015. And now we are in the back end of the season. This is something that these drivers have to pay attention to, making sure they stay in the top 25 of the championship standings so they can retain their license for the following year and avoid running in the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. That battle does continue for P5 on the racetrack. Andre Borcher remains in that 5th position as it stands. Let's check in then with Martin Kroenke and Mitchell de Jong, because they continue their battle for 2nd place on the racetrack. There you see Martin Kroenke there on your screen, and there you see Mitchell de Jong as he works himself down into the Fangya chicane on that Orion Racing Team car. And de Jong, since the start of this race, is up 6 positions. Last time by 1 minute 47. 47.372. Compare that to 1 minute 47.736 for Martin Kroenke. It's not quite close enough, however, as we ride on board with De Jong. So then, with 4 laps to go in this event, we're just doing the math, and if De Jong keeps catching at this pace, they will be literally nose to tail coming out of the final corner. There'll probably be just one opportunity for De Jong. That last time by a 1:48.0 for Kroenke, a 1 minute 47.2 for Mitchell De Jong. That gap is now 2.5 seconds on the racetrack to ride back on board with De Jong. He actually gets very close to the wall down into Air Rouge that time by. I wouldn't be surprised if he might have just tagged it. All over the curbs there as well. Maybe De Jong's getting a little bit flustered with 3.5 laps to go in this race. He knows that he's got his sights on P2, but he knows that he has to push qualifying style laps, get himself into that position with 3.5 laps to go. But Bacala does continue to lead the way. The gap between himself and Kroenke up to 14.7 seconds on the racetrack. And let's not forget, everyone, with the exception of the Ferrari Motorsports driver and Christian Laurent, have made 2 stops in this event. Kroenke, Louise, Borcher and Laurent, they have each made 1 stop in this event, and you can tell that the 2-stop strategy clearly has been superior to the 1-stop strategy in this event here today. Let's turn our attention back to Borcher and Yuhu A, because you can see that Borcher has been able to eke out a little bit of an advantage. We're having a look from the rear of Andre Borcher. There you see Yuhu Abe on the background. It's 8 tenths of a second. 3.5 laps for these guys to go. And Borcher looks like he's got himself a little bit of a cushion right now over Yuhu Abe. But of course, it is these very long straightaways that really hurts Borcher, as Abe's able to get that draft, get that slipstream. You can see that gap coming down second by second. He's gained about 1.5 already on this straightaway as they come down into the bus stop once again. Almost 2 tenths he has gained on this one straightaway. But potentially Yuhu Abe has just overcooked his tyres a little bit, as behind Ilka Harpada now has been able to get a gap of Jake Sturgis of 3.3 seconds on the racetrack. So ever since Harpada made that very bold pass over Sturgis in the outside into Lacombe, he has been able to pick up an advantage and dance away into the Belgian sunset, with now 2 and a bit laps to go in this event. There you can see, just by the way, Jake Sturgis. Behind them, Paul Ilbrink, Alexei Giacola. Here comes Giacola down to the inside. That's why he had his incident earlier. Doesn't want to do the same again, but we'll ride along board with Alexei Giacola as they work themselves down the hill. So good run up the hill. This is really going to set Giacola up well for a pass, as they already go side by side through the King as they work themselves down the Camel straightaway. Giacola on the outside, Paul Ilbrink on the inside. Coming down into Lacombe. Will Giacola be able to brake deeply? Yes, he will. Sweeps ahead there of Paul Ilbrink, moves himself up into 9th place with just a handful of laps to go in this event. Yuhu Abe, by the way, there you see him. We'll ride along board with him very quickly. He has been able to close that gap back down to Andre Borcher. This is the battle for P5 on the racetrack. So Yuhu Abe has been able to close that gap just a little bit. Now is where he needs to get a good run out of Staveley. He's tried around the outside into the bus stop before. He's going to have to brake as deep as he possibly can this time by, as the gap between himself and Borcher are about 2 tenths of a second on the racetrack now. Let's see whether Abe is going to try and make a move as they work themselves out of Blanchimont. Doesn't look as though he's going to be close enough to make that move this time, but he's going to try it, however. Not quite close enough there for Yuhu Abe, but he has got himself set up a lot better as they work themselves out of the bus stop to potentially make a run. We've now just 2 laps to go in this event. And there you see the gap as we'll ride back from the rear of Andre Borcher. Just a couple of tenths of a second, but Abe will gain all of that back as they run down the hill and then up the hill. And you can see one more time, just a gradient change here as they just go up the hill through Adilion. Down to 2 tenths of a second already. Now can Abe try one more move down to the outside potentially? You can see that Borcher is defending heavily. Abe will look down to the outside. He's not going to be close enough, however. Mogar Philo is battling with Yunus Nakurian in the last laps of this race. Now, Nakurian has had a great race here today. He qualified in the 18th position, running himself just outside the top 10. His best performance of the season so far. Mo Garfido is normally a dab hand at this racetrack, however, not really had the results he would have wanted. Is just behind. You see Christian Loren, Gregor Hutu going side by side, and it looks as though that Hutu will get that job done over Christian Loren to move himself up into 14th place on the racetrack. Damage limitation mode now for Gregor Hutu. Let's get ourselves a replay of that then. Gregor Hutu getting himself past Christian Loren on the racetrack. So this it is, riding on board with Gregor Hutu in that number 1 Team Redline car. You'll see he'll just go to the outside of Christian Loren there in that GT Ross car. Now Loren's probably wondering, well, why is Hutu so far back? Makes it easy for him in many ways. Gregor Hutu moves up 1 position, and it's an easy pass as he works himself down into Lacombe. Meanwhile, though, for Ollie Picala, you can see the last lap of the race as he works himself down into Lacombe for the final time. So, for Ollie Picala, he has led 33 laps of this event. It's just keeping an eye out. It looks as though that Mitchell de Jong is now within 2 seconds of Martin Kroenke. It doesn't look as though it's going to be quite close enough. There's also Yuhu Abe. This is as close as he has ever been. This could be the last chance move for Yuhu Abe. Will he look to the outside as they come down? You can see a much better run there for Yuhu Abe as they work themselves down into Lacombe. This is as close as they've ever been. They almost make contact. Yuhu Abe, though, not as confident under braking into Lacombe. Has to stick it in line there. That could be it for Yuhu Abe. He'll only get one more opportunity, and that'll be into the final corner as they work themselves down into the bus stop. But Jake Sturgis and Alexei Yakola batting in the last couple of laps of this event as well. Yakola ahead of Jake Sturgis. Meanwhile, though, for Ollie Picala, here he comes, working himself through Blanchimont for the final time. Just now, a couple of corners left to go for Ollie Picala as he's going to win his 2nd race of his season. But what he does, potentially a lot more importantly, he is the driver who will break that streak of 7 races. Ollie Picala wins his 2nd round of the championship, breaking the 7-win streak of Gregor Hutu. There you see him, your race leader, Ollie Picala, your victor, Ollie Picala for Glacier Racing. 2nd place then will go to Martin Kroenke as he just comes into view there in that Ferrari Motorsports car. 2nd place for him. 3rd place for Mitchell de Jong, his 1st podium of his campaign. What a ride there by that Orion Racing Team driver, Andre Borgia, and Yuhu Abe to the line. Looks as though that Andre Borgia is just going to get that one done. We need to get ourselves a replay of that because that was a mighty, mighty close. We said it was going to come down to the wire. This you see, Yuhu Abe and with Andre Borgia, you see Abe just does the cut under, not quite close enough as they come past the start finish line. On our timing and scoring, it does look as though Abe has to settle for 5th place. We'll get another look though on board with Yuhu Abe. So here he is then, down into that final corner on the racetrack. You see Abe getting a much better run. He just dives immediately down to the inside, side by side to the line. But yes, you can tell that Andre Borgia just able to hold on there to 4th place. Last ditch effort doesn't work for Yuhu Abe. The rest of the guys come past start finish line. Ilka Hapada, Alexei Yakola, Jake Sturgis, Paul Ilbrich and Jonas Nakurian rounding out your top 10. There you can see the last lot of your drivers scored on the lead lap. 24 drivers finishes on the lead lap, but we are having a look at Hugo Louise. It might look as though he might have had something happen to him. We'll just check that one out in just one moment's time. Hugo Louise, a much better result for him. He does lose positions in this event, though, to Martin Kroenke. So that's going to be difficult for him in this event. All the guys just come past the start-finish line. We are going to run through your final race results in just one moment's time. So then, ladies and gentlemen, there you see Ollie Picala taking victory here today. His 2nd victory of the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. There you see his teammate, Alexei Yakola, lining up alongside him as they work themselves out of Stavolo number 2. Bring those cars back down on towards pit road. But ladies and gentlemen, to run through your final race results. And there you see Oli Picala, 16 seconds to the good over Martin Cronkey, taking his second victory of the season. Then Mitchell de Jong in third place, Hugo Louise in fourth, Andre Borcha in fifth, Yuhu Abe, Ilka Parla, Alexei Usiakola, Jake Sturgis and Paul Ilbrink round out your top 10. Then Mogar Philo in 11th, Funes Nakuri in 12th, Gregor Hutu, Christian Laurent, Risky Irisaki ran out your top 15. Gregor Hutu will have a look at that event one more time after we come back with post-race interviews. Isaac Price, Robin Friskop, Sean Jens, Fabio De Carmo and Fulvio Barazzini, they ran out your top 20. Then the rest of the results coming up on your screen. Ben Cornett, last of drivers classified on the lead lap here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to step aside for just one moment's time. Then we'll be back with post-race interviews and a whole lot more. As there you see, doing the donuts is Oli Picala. We'll be back in just a couple of moments' time. Stick with us. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to post-race coverage of this, the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Will Vincent here on RaceSpot TV. Don't forget, you can follow us, follow me even, on Twitter at Will Vincent. Also, facebook.com/RaceSpot TV for all the latest news on RaceSpot TV and, of course, continuing coverage of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. So then, to have a look through your final race results, Oli Picala claiming victory over Martin Cronkey, 16.3 seconds when all was said and done. Mitchell de Jong in third, Hugo Louise in fourth, Andre Borcha fifth, Yuhu Abe, Ilka Parda, Alexei Usiakola, Jake Sturgis and Paul Ilbrink. They round out your top 10. Post-race interviews coming up in just one moment's time. Stick with us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back one more time to Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. We have got post-race interviews, and there's only one place to start. It is with the guy who's won his second race of the season, the third for Glacier Racing this year, Oli Picardo. Welcome back to iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series Victory Lane.
Thank you, Will. Thank you very much.
It's been an absolutely dominant performance, and of course, let's not forget the first time you came to Spa. It was your first race in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And I remember you talking to me after that one saying, qualifying could have been a little bit better. If qualifying was better, you could have won on that day because you just had an absolutely barnstorming race. This time, you got qualifying sorted out. And I think that you showed how good you really are at this racetrack.
Thanks again. Yeah. Last time we were here in Spa, yeah, I could have had the pole and but yeah, settled to P9 and fight my way to P4. And this time obviously we have raced 11 or 10 races between last time we were here, so I've gained a lot of confidence and experience. So I've been developing a lot, and I guess you can see it from the results today.
Now, 1 second. There we are. So, the race itself, you've led 33 laps of this event, which has been absolutely dominant. But the big thing was that two-stop over that one-stop strategy. Pretty much everyone went with that two-stoppers except for the Ferrari Motorsports drivers. Do you think that had it been a straight fight, you still would have had the pace to win this race?
I think they would have had the pace to fight for the victory with the two-stopper, but I was super surprised after 2 laps when they had chosen the one-stopper. I've tested the one-stopper also, and it was hugely slower, so I was pretty surprised that the Racer picked that strategy out. But yeah, don't know.
As we're just very quickly going to get a look at some of the highlights that you've had in this race so far here today. But there you see the donuts up on your screen, and of course donuts on pit road. That's a very new and interesting one for all of us. But the race itself, you know, you didn't have to pass anyone. It was really about hot lapping and maintaining that gap. When you made your first pit stop and you came out and you realised you were so close to the rear of Martin Kroenke, was that, you know, the key difference maker for you? No, from that point, it was, you know, almost simple running for you.
Yeah, definitely. I remember it was approximately like 4 seconds behind Martin and ahead of Hugo and Andre when I came out from my first pit, and I was catching Martin pretty quickly, and then I found myself the rear of Martin, and I knew, okay, they were one stopper and they will pit earlier than my second. I will pit my second stop. So I was just chilling basically after that for the rest of the race, and it was pretty demanding track, and this new build is quite difficult to drive. So I just kept the car on track and tried to handle my tires so they wouldn't burn out and hit to the wall. So.
And overall, second win of the season. Now, what's bigger for you? Is it the fact that it's your second win of the season, or is it the fact that you're the driver to beat the streak? And I feel like almost talking about WWE here, but you're the driver to beat the streak, and of course, you know, finally snap Gregor Hutu 7 wins in a row. Which one's more important to you?
I think that second win for me is more important. Gregor is alien kind of speed, so I don't want to compare myself to him. He had a bad race, obviously, so he couldn't fight for the victory. But this means a lot to me, and I will gain a lot of confidence. Me and Alexi also in our team, that we are able to fight for the P2 and P3 for the rest of the season. So.
And of course, next time out, we go back to Interlagos, and you've got, I don't know the nice way of saying this, you've got some recovery to do there. You've got some demons to fight, and it's time for some retribution when we go back to Interlagos.
Yeah, I hope there will not be server glitches and clock smashes, so I can fight for that podium like last time.
Well, before we let you go, let's say a couple of words in Finnish, and anyone you can say thank you to?
Definitely. Joo, aivan mahtava kisa oli, että lähdettiin alkuvuodesta, tultiin tänne Spahaan ekaa kerran, silloin oli jo lähellä voittoa, ja nyt tultiin sitten 10 kisan jälkeen toisen kerran, ja aika rauhalliset aikajokierrokset nappasin ja paalu tuli ja siitä sitten kasautettiin kisaa ja hyvä semi-OK startti ja sitten se oli aika lailla hallitaan renkaita, ettei ne pala loppuun ja otettiin sieltä se voitto. Yllätyin, että Foraserin pojat ajoi yksi topperilla, että sieltä tuli sitten aika paljon eroa sitten sen puolesta niihin meidän eduksi. Ei mitään, kiitoksia ja tästä Interlagosin terveisiä Leeville, Aleksille ja kiitoksia AUJ Drakkulalle ja tiimille, että tästä lähdetään eteenpäin. Thank you, Will.
No worries. Oli Picardo winning his second race this season. Great result by him. Another guy with an absolutely amazing result. His first podium is Mitchell de Jong. Mitchell, what a race you've had in that Orion Racing Team car today.
Yeah, that was so much fun. I didn't have the best qualifier. I lost about 4/10 from my best, and I was just hoping for another top 5 at best. And I saw some things happening, and I saw some cars run one-stop strategies, and I was really surprised. So I just tried to put some laps down and try my best to keep the pace up, and fortunately it worked out in the end.
Now, you're right there in the melee that happened on lap 2, turn 1. Take us through what you saw from your angle and how difficult was it to find your way through it?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad for me. When I got to it, I just saw a lot of smoke, and it seemed like a lot of cars were straightened out by then. So I just hugged the inside around turn 1 and tried to get a straight shot out. But yeah, not too big issues there. I didn't actually know what happened yet. I just saw the smoke, and that's all.
And then, of course, you saw Hutus losing it down at Air Rouge as well. At that point where you're thinking, well, I've dodged my bullets, that's the potential bad luck out of the way, I can go racing. And secondly, of course, from there, how complicated was it to figure out what your true pace was of all the different strategy options going on?
Yeah, it was very tough at this track for some reason. It felt like the track had a good amount of grip, but it was very hard to stay consistent. So, how the car reacts now, you had to really not overdrive the car, but not underdrive it. So, trying to find the balance was very tough, and yeah, it's hard to figure out how much of a difference I need to make up on the one-stop guys.
And then, of course, you were able to get yourself out into third position after pit stops were all said and done. But then you were closing down Martin Kroenke in those last couple of laps of the event. Do you think that potentially you could have caught him down had luck have gone a little bit different from you, especially remembering the fact that you did lose quite a bit of time in the opening laps of this event?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with a better qualifier, it would have gone a lot better. But at the closing laps, when I could see that I was catching him every lap, I was really trying as hard as I could to catch him. But at the end, it just wasn't enough. And I think with a few less mistakes and better qualifier, we could have had a chance to go a little higher. But I can't be unhappy with third place.
You can't. And one of the things as well, it really is a return to form for your Orion Racing Team, who the last year and a half or so have struggled to get top 5 finishes. And of course, not only as you performed yourself being good today, Ilkka Hapala, a 6th place finish for him. Now, is there any particular reason how Orion has been able to get themselves back into such a good position? Is it the collaborative work between yourself and Ilkka and the rest of the team that's been a part of that?
I mean, it's the guys on this team. They're all so fast, and practice times, everything, they'll be right up next to what pole will be. But we just had I guess you could say maybe not the best runs in some of the races and qualifiers, but they've always had like great pace and always times that are right there.
And of course, I could offer you the chance to say something in your own language, but would you like to say anything in American English?
Not this time.
Not to worry. Well, congratulations. 3rd place for Mitchell de Jong. And of course, before we let you go, there is one other thing as well that we need to mention in some ways, that potentially what this is doing for you, these good performances, is it's giving you the opportunity to maybe not have to run in the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Is getting into that top 25 an important thing for you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple days ago, I started thinking about that, and you know, that would be awesome if that's possible. I think I can run about 3 more races without missing that I can't miss. Yeah, so hopefully get some good finishes on that and it works out.
Well done to Mitchell de Jong, coming home in 3rd place. And of course, when's the next time we're going to see you on TV?
Hopefully soon. I won't be able to do the next one. Or actually, I might be able to do the next one, but not the one after. So we'll see.
Mitchell de Jong, 3rd place in that Orion Racing Team car. Well done to him, and of course you can check him out when, of course, runs many events on TV, of course, winning in the X Games as well. Mitchell de Jong, 3rd place in that number 51 Orion Racing Team car. Got a couple of other people to talk to. We have got Mo Garfilo and Paul Ilbrink. Both have had good races in this event here today. We will start... let's see, who are we going to start with first? We will start with Paul Ilbrink coming home in that 9th place overall. Now, Paul, Radicals are normally historically pretty good at this racetrack. Another top 10 finish for you here today. How was the race?
Yeah, I came in 10th actually, but
Right,
yeah, since I was 10th, I think.
Okay, we'll believe you.
Anyway, since Jeremy wasn't here, I thought I'd do the march up through the ranks, and I'm very happy to get a first top 10 finish in this series.
Now, you've had yourself a good race. Of course, you guys were on a very good two-stop strategy. Yourself, the Courier, and Philo, each able to get up a number of positions in this event. In fact, the 3 of you were running line astern in the latter stages of the race here today. It's been a bit of a tough middle part of the season for you guys, but all of a sudden, things are coming back in the Radical Steel Series Simulate cars. Is being on familiar territory a good time to revitalise your season?
I think so. And last race, I think we had the pace as well, but unfortunately, we completely screwed up with strategy, so it didn't really show there. But I think we can have a good end to the season with the form, with Jeremy also returning hopefully soon, and should be good.
And of course, the fact that you have got yourself a top 10, does that take the pressure off you a little bit as far as that top 25 battle goes? Of course, we're talking about de Jong potentially being able to make it into the top 25 himself. Is it possible, do you think, that you might be able to hold on to the top 25 again, avoid having to run the Pro Series of Road Racing? Does a good result here today really help that one for you?
It certainly helps. I don't think I was in the danger zone too much, so I wasn't too worried about it, and I'm more happy about this accomplishment than that it makes me higher up in the standings.
Well, 10th place for you here today. You are right, it is 10th place overall. And before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to say thank you to? Any foreign languages you'd like to speak to anyone?
I want to thank Pablo Lopez, GoPro Lopez, who's also been on these streams a lot, and he's unfortunately leaving our team, but I want to thank him for all the time he was here.
And I'm sure I'm going to echo that one as well. Pablo Lopez, one of the most well-known people in all of iRacing. Pablo GoPro Lopez, we wish you luck in anything that you choose to do from here on in. And congratulations, Paul Ilbrink, coming home in the 10th place here today in the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Very quickly, we're going to have a chat with Mogar Philo as well, coming home 11th place overall. Mogar, good race, once again, just outside the top 10, but what you have to say overall, not a bad result, just losing 1 place in this event.
Hi Will, hi guys that are watching the broadcast. This was a very hard race. Things didn't go as well I was hoping to, but also I saw a lot of accidents on my front, which I escaped for a very little margin. So thankfully I could finish the race on a good position. At the start, I could see some cars touching. Also, I saw Gregor spinning on my front. Martin Petila also spun right on the start, so I could be involved in a lot of accidents. Hopefully, the car was good. Too bad I had a contact with Eloma that did some damage, but overall, I think that we could get a good setup for a race on this new build. but we still had to find a little bit of pace for qualify. This qualifier was quite close from my personal best, but the pole was faster than my optimal lap. So we had to find a little bit of performance so I can try keeping on the top 10 on standings at the end of the season.
Is that your overall aim now, racing to maintain that top 10 finish? Because it has been a pretty good season for you overall in that Radical Steel Series Simulator car. And of course, we're going to a couple of tracks that we've raced at before. Interlagos, again, your home event, our second run running there. Going back to Suzuka again as well, before we kind of head back into the unknown tracks that we haven't been to, including Kota at the end. Is now the good opportunity, especially considering how good your run at Interlagos was, first part of the race at least, last time out, that you've got that chance to really get some good, strong finishes now?
Let's see what happens. Last race on Interlagos, I could find a very nice setup, and this helped me a lot. The guys are pretty aware of how the car behaves now, and things won't be easy to repeat that performance, but I intend to finish this time. And I'm quite excited. The last races will be on tracks, the Formula One runs in real life, because there will be opportunities to overtake, to nice fights for positions, and there should be fun races both to drive and to watch.
Well, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to say thank you to, and would you like to say a word in Portuguese?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank my team Radicals, also Pablo Lopez, who did a lot for our team, and also Steel Series and Simulahi. And now for the Portuguese part, pessoal que acompanha o iRacing, obrigado aí por assistir. A torcida acaba ajudando, sem dúvida. E é muito legal ver tanto o Hugo quanto o Fábio nessa pista, e a gente tem potencial para ter mais gente aqui. Então, vamos lá, vamos tentar, e boa sorte para quem quiser chegar nesse campeonato. Obrigado.
Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you guys.
Thank you. Mo Garfido coming home in the 11th place here today at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And to run through one more time your final race results, Oli Picard taking victory overall by 16.3 seconds over Martin Kroenke. Mitchell de Jong in third place, Hugo Louise in fourth, Andre Porcher fifth, and then Yuhu Abe, Ilka Apala, Alexei Usiakola, Jake Sergios, Paul Ilbring, rounding out your top 10. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for just one moment, and then we'll be back with closing thoughts here from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Sticks with us. We will be right back. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back then to Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. It's been an absolutely tremendous race, and it was Ollie Picala taking his second victory of the season. One more time then, a look at your top 10. Ollie Picala from Martin Kroenke, Mitchell de Jong, Hugo Louise, Andre Butcher, Juho Abe, Ilka Hapala, Alexei Usiakola, Jake Sturgios, and then Paul Ilbrink. They round out your top 10 for today. And with that note, it is almost time for us to say goodbye, but not until you get to see my pretty little face, like so. There we are. I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone who's been a part of our coverage here today. Don't forget, you can always check us out. Facebook.com/RaceBotTV. You can follow myself. Facebook.com/I am Will Vincent. Alternatively, on Twitter, at Will Vincent. We've got more action coming for you a little bit later on. That will be ISOWC IndyCar action from the Milwaukee Mile, as drivers will do 225 laps around the amazing, historic Milwaukee Mile, the oldest operating speedway in the world. In 2 weeks' time, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series will return here on RaceBot TV and iRacing Live. They make their second journey to Interlagos. That will be right here on iRacing Live and RaceBot TV. Coverage for that will start at 1:30 p.m. GMT. Don't forget also, August 26th, the next round of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. That'll be from Atlanta Motor Speedway, 163 laps on PSR TV, MRN, the Motor Racing Network, and of course on iRacing Live. Myself, Will Vincent, again, thank you very much for being a part of our coverage. Don't forget, like the video, that one, right there, somewhere, there we are. Subscribe to RaceBot TV as well, and for more information about the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, head over to wcs.iracing.com. This has been a RaceBot TV presentation of the 12th round of the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Myself, Will Vincent. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.